So the question about training martial arts while also being safe, very important question. I'm going to share some thoughts on this. So now, generally speaking, when it comes to any kind of injury that you may have, any kind of pre-medical condition, it's important that you speak with your medical professional and get cleared with relation to understanding any and all situations that could make it worse, right? Is there a point of recovery that needs to be taken into account? So that, and it's not just in the case of learning or starting training in any kind of combat sport or martial art, but anything, right? Just any kind of physical activity. If there's something physical that you're recovering from that you need to address, then get a clear idea and understanding from your medical professional whether or not there's certain things that you need to be aware of, if there's a recovery period that you need to engage in before you start something. So definitely get with your medical professional about that. Now, with relation to what are the appropriate safeguards that you need to have in place to be able to practice and engage in martial arts and to train in martial arts, what are some considerations? So I can guarantee you right now, pretty much almost every martial arts school that you're going to go into, safety is a priority. Now, if you find that the school is not safe, and we're talking about safety not just in the scope of practice, but safety in the scope of cleanliness, safety in the scope of the environment, safety in the scope of ensuring that the people that you're that are practicing with you on the mat care for you, care for your physical, emotional, and mental well-being while you're on the mat and training, so that both of you are advancing and progressing. This is something that is a common trait within martial arts schools, and if you haven't had the opportunity and the joy of walking into a martial arts school, then this is something that you will notice. And so there's a level of camaraderie and collective self-betterment that exists on the mat and in the dojo that you don't typically see in like a gym or in other situations. Now, I'm coming from a background, played football in high school, freshman and sophomore year, played tight end. I played and I practiced martial arts since third grade, started in Taekwondo a couple of years, moved on to a mixed martial arts school, which this is in the 90s. We fixed, and in New Jersey specifically, because MMA was outlawed in New York. And so one of the things we found was that in the school, the mixed martial arts school focused on a combination of Kyokushin karate and Taekwondo. And then later that school was bought out by Tiger Shoma's Karate, and their curriculum was designed with Kyokushin karate, Muay Thai, boxing, and grappling, which was a mix of Greco-Roman style wrestling, no-gi, jiu-jitsu, and some judo. And so that was kind of all part of the curriculum. Now, the way that we went about training and the philosophy that's kind of been ingrained is that martial arts is a movement practice, right? And so the element of a movement practice is that it's different from physical training in the sense of like strength training. One of the things that I would recommend is that if you've never done martial arts before, there may be some strength standards that you may want to take into consideration. Now, before we get into that, I want to kind of also talk about what is the reason for you to take up martial arts, right? People have different reasons. There is a competitive aspect. Well, I'll tell you this. People come in to learn martial arts primarily to learn how to defend themselves. That's what gets them in the door. People stay because of the community and the sport side of it. And so now people may or may not want to compete in the sense of like enrolling themselves into tournaments and competitions, but there is a sports side, a recreational side that exists on the mat and in the dojo. And a lot of people, that's why they stay. And so that's the key thing. And this is one of the things that I've noticed is it's not just for adults, it's also for youth, right? A lot of times youth, elementary school kids will be enrolled in martial arts, but they won't continue in the martial arts, except that what's keeping them engaged is the competition, is the recreation, is competing essentially through their middle school and high school years. And so for me, in my case, it was like, despite playing basketball or football, whatnot, martial arts was the priority. Now, the question is, how do you make it so that your engagement in the art and the sport is safe? Now, on one hand, a big part about it is knowing yourself, right? What are your limitations? So you already mentioned that, there's a medical precondition, a retinal detachment, that you have to take into account. Now, your medical professional will tell you exactly how to go about working with that or around that. Now, having said that, keep in mind, if you're engaging in martial arts, it is a combat sport. In any combat sport, there is going to be injury to some degree at some point. But this is the nature of physical growth and development. Even when you go to the gym, you go lift weights, you are creating micro tears within your musculature. When you are increasing or working on increasing your mobility, your range of motion and things like that, you're going to be tearing through all of the myofascial tissue within your body, your joints and things like that. And it's not that the thing isn't so much about whether or not there's damage being done to your body, which there is. It's the importance and attention given to recovery, right? And so when you do squats or deadlifts, where you do presses and pulls at the gym, right? You're gonna feel soreness. You gotta make sure that you're giving your body the appropriate nutrition and rest and recovery and active recovery in order for you to heal from the activity, so that you can continue to do more of it and be able to endure more load progressively. So it's the same thing with martial arts, where there's going to be that general growth, even within the movement practice itself. There's going to be a lot of technical movements, a lot of conditioning, a lot of learning that's going to go with that. But at the same time, getting injured is inevitable. Within the scope of jiu-jitsu specifically, right, which is very popular today, and in my case, I started training jiu-jitsu as a sport in 2018, and since that time, I think within the first few months, I broke my ankle. I don't even know. I thought it was a sprain, now I've experienced sprained ankles and things like that numerous times. I've lost count, just through all the sports and activities and basketball, things like that, even in sparring and martial arts, and you learn how to treat it. And so in my case, I taped it up, ensured I'd ice it, I heat it, and I continued to train over the course of the next few weeks, just ensuring that I don't injure it, or I don't put myself in a position that caused it to be injured. And now, similarly, I've had an old injury going way back to when I was in high school, where I have some dead nerves on my right leg due to a sparring session where somebody was taking me down. I reversed a takedown, they reversed that reversal, and we both ended up going down. His shin went down on my shin really hard, and there was some nerve damage. And that later also was exacerbated due to a car accident. And so I had a deteriorated tendon in my ankle. And so every now and then it gets inflamed. And so I went to the doctor, go check that out. And the doctor basically said, oh, you broke your ankle. I'm like, no, I didn't. Like, I came here for my right ankle. I said, just the injury is just flaring up. I wanted to know if there's any additional treatment I should be considering. He's like, no, your left ankle is broken. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, there was a hairline fracture, but it healed up just fine. And I was like, oh, so that's what that was. And so, but he's like, yeah, healed up really good. Whatever you did the right thing, but I just wanted to let you know that your ankle had been broken. So like, that's just an example. But I also know myself in the sense that I tend to be a little bit more competitive. I tend to be a little bit more aggressive due to my experience. And so I will face off against more advanced students, and sometimes to my detriment. And so it's just a question of knowing yourself, knowing what you can endure, knowing what you can take. But one of the things that, knowing that the risk of the injury that would come from that, because I knew how to address it from before, it was fine. I recovered from it and I'm fine, right? There's no any long-term negative effects that's going to come with that. And so that's what I mean by recovery, is that if you ever do get injured, I've had 3 or 4 popped ribs, right? I've had my shoulder not dislocated, but kind of pulled forward. I've had situations where when you're gripping a lot, you tend to overactivate your forearms, and at the same time, because of the pulling motion, your back muscles, everything from your traps to your lats to your shoulders, everything's just working. And so as a result, there's an imbalance that develops, and that imbalance causes frustrations such as a tennis elbow, right? These are all things that happen in sports, not just combat and martial arts, but in everything. And so it's just a matter of knowing that when these things arise, you know how to take the time and you know how to focus so that you can recover appropriately. And I think that is one of the key safeguard in order for you to be able to engage in any physical activity, is that you go in with the mindset that you want to be able to do this in the long term. And part of it is getting to know and engaging with people who have been doing it for a long time and learning from them. What are the things that they take into consideration? Why are they doing it? You'll find people who are 65, 70 years old that are practicing martial arts. And some of them got started in their 40s and 50s, and they've been at it for 10 plus years. And so it's just a matter of understanding that, hey, you know what, I'm doing this. I'm doing this for my health. I'm also doing this because I enjoy it. I'm doing it so I can learn self-defense. I'm doing it so that I have people that I can connect with. There's a community of people I can connect with. I'm doing it because the art of grappling is a universal sport that goes back centuries. In fact, in some cultures and societies, you would not qualify for military service or to be part of the tribe's military, so to speak, or militia, however you want to look at it, except that you knew how to grapple. You knew how to take somebody down and hold them down. And if somebody did put you down, they wouldn't be able to keep you down, right? These are all like universal practices. So it's a human nature thing in order why you should learn martial arts. And just like in any physical activity, the safeguard is paying attention to recovery. And this is going to be more and more important as the older that you get. I'm pushing 40, and for me, it's important to, I find that it takes me a little bit longer to recover than when I was 20. In fact, I didn't have to spend any time in recovery when I was 20. I could stay up 3-4 days straight and put in the physical work and I still be fine. Whereas now, you know what, I need my beauty sleep. And if I do go hard one day, I need to take at least a day off before I get back on the mat. If I find myself and the reverse is also true. What does your lifestyle look like, right? So in my case, I spend a lot of time, and like most of us, we spend in any kind of knowledge work that we do. We're spending a lot of time on, in front of a computer. And so there's a recovery factor that comes from getting away from that. Whether it's hip mobility, shoulder mobility, posture control, it's not so much about, being at the proper posture, in a sedentary situation, but not being sedentary all the time. And if you are sedentary, how do you recover from that? Working on mobility and things like that. So these are some safeguards that you want to take into consideration. One of the things I do advise folks to do is, and it's not necessary that you do this before you get into any kind of martial arts or during when you get into martial arts, but I found it easier in my experience to at least focus on getting to a strength standard. And I believe everybody should be able to do this strength standard, and that is your four basic movements, right? Your squat, your deadlift, your squat, your deadlift, your press, and your pull. Press is like a bench press or overhead, and pull is your pull-up, right? What are these strength standards? Well, when it comes to being able to do a pull-up, can you do a full, proper pull-up, right? If you can, like that's a good basic strength standard. You'll be surprised how many people don't know how to do or are unable to do a full, proper pull-up, much less 10, right? And if you can do 5 or 10, that's amazing, right? But can you do a full, proper pull-up? That's one. Can you press your lean body mass, ideally your body weight, right? Now, if you're obese, overweight, that's consider your lean body mass. But if you are more or less healthy with relation to body fat composition, anything at 16% or lower, then can you press your body weight? When it comes to your squat, can you squat at least 1.25, 1.5 times your body weight or your lean body mass? And when it comes to deadlifting something off the ground, in this case a barbell with some plates, can you deadlift at least 2 times your lean body mass, if not your body weight? Now, a lot of people can't do that, but this is a proper strength standard to have, where when you're able to do this, then you're going to do well in any sport, any recreational physical activity that you put your mind to. And sometimes people think about for example, in my case, I'm just over 200 pounds. I deadlift 405. And it's like, wow, that's amazing. A lot of people have that reaction, when in reality, if you think about it, if you simplify it, right? Can you get down and up and down on one leg, right? That's more or less be able to squat your full body weight almost on one leg, right? Can you get up off the ground on one leg? That's a strength standard. Can you pick up something that is your body weight, like bending down and picking it up easily, right? That, like, at minimum, that you should be able to do that. Can you lift somebody off the ground, put them on your shoulder? Then this is one of those things where it's like a rescue situation, right? You have a loved one, you have a family member, your kid, they fall down and they need to be helped up. Can you help them up, right? That's a strength training. Now, grappling, a lot of the movement practices that we learn is we learn how to pick people up and throw them down, and so and that's a movement practice that carries over into regular life. But it's a good idea to at least work towards getting to that, and then engage in the martial art. And how much time should you put, right? I don't think it should take you more than 8 months is a good period to set if you're gonna get focused on a physical training plan. Shouldn't have to spend more than 2 years, and this is just based on your biological your biological cycle of recovery. FYI, if your blood your red blood cells, for example, they're recreated. Your body produces new red blood cells every 90 to 100 days, right? That's how you know if your diet or whatever you're consuming is working or not, because you check your blood every 90 to 100 days, then you'll see cholesterol levels, things like that, if whatever particular change you made in your life, whether it's the exercise or the diet, is working. So that's one example. The other example is your interconnective myofascial tissue that replaces itself every 8 months or so. So if you're working on a mobility or a movement practice, strength and conditioning and range of motion, things like that, then 8 months, if you're working on it on the regular, 2, 3, 4 times a week, then within 8 months you're going to have all new cells with relation to myofascial tissue. Muscles, they take about 2 years to replace themselves. And so bones, they take 7 to 10 years. So every decade or so you have a whole new body. So that's what I mean by your recovery stuff. And so that's why I'm saying it. 8 months to 2 years. 2 years if you talk about complete muscular makeover. 8 months with relation to any kind of mobility and movement practice and getting started in your strength standards journey. I think is the appropriate time to give. And then after that, make a decision as to if you want to do a martial art. And then it's just a matter of deciding the school that you're going to be going into. Like, what's the environment like? What are the people like? What do they have membership, right? Because one of the things that would suck is that you join a school and they go out of business or something like that. It happens a lot. One of the reasons I chose Gracie Barra, for example, Barra, it's Portuguese. They pronounce the R's as H, and so the reason I joined them is because with 1,000 schools not nationwide, globally, everybody's on this following the same curriculum. And for me, because I travel for work and stuff, gave me an excuse. It would not give me the excuse to get lazy, right? In the sense of, like, wherever I travel, there's going to be a school that I can walk into. And even if there is no Gracie behind a particular city, if you're training in jiu-jitsu, you can always find a local school, give them a call, be like, hey, I'm visiting from out of town. And they're typically more than happy to welcome you in, even if there's a mat fee or something like that. In my experience, I have not yet had to pay a mat fee. But then again, most of the schools that I've visited that were not Gracie Barra in a town I was visiting, I got connected to the school through somebody I knew, so there was like an inside connect. So there's that. But yeah, these are basic things that you can take into consideration. Just know that the world of martial arts is a very welcoming world of people, a lot of great individuals. It's a family thing as well. And it's also an excellent place to meet people that you can connect with on a deep personal level. 2 minutes sparring with somebody, you will know more about them. And you may not even know their name, but you'll know more about them than you would from a colleague that you've worked with for over 2 years. So this is the beauty of martial arts and the people that you engage with. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you soon.